and welcome to episode 67 of Little Big Knits. My name is Selma. I'm your host. I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Canada, where I live with my family and our cat Yoda. I am Selma Knits on Instagram and Ravelry, so feel free to find me there. And hello, welcome back, welcome for the first time. Nice to have you here. And today will be hopefully a lovely, simple episode. And I've got a lot going on. First of all, I've got a few announcements and things to do before I actually get into the knitting today. So let me do that first. I'm going to plunk my notes right here in front of me so I'm reminded of everything. First of all, we have the LBK Connections Mal. This is a make-along that is happening on Instagram with the hashtag LBK Connections Mal, or on Ravelry in our Little Big Knits group, where we have a thread called the LBK Connections Mal. And this is a make-along, whether it can be any craft that is using fibers of some sort, whether they are woven fibers or spun fibers, so fabric or yarn of some kind. Or fibers. It could be unspun, you could be felting as well, whatever. It's all about connections. So either they are materials or patterns that have been given to you, such as a piece of fabric or some yarn, or you are making something for somebody else, whether it be for friend, family, charity, whatever the case may be. So the idea is that there is a connection between you and somebody else. So it's been super duper lovely and some absolutely beautiful stories in there, and just really nice seeing the projects that are coming along and the inspiration that people have had by for making it for others or from things that have been given to others. So that's one thing. Second thing is that last time I talked to you about Vivaya shoes, just wanted to remind you that I'm still enjoying my shoes, by the way, but I wanted to remind you that the promotion code is still on, Selma15, if you happen to want to get a pair of Vivaya shoes. I have been on their website a few times, I have to say, in the last month, because I'd like to get a pair of black shoes. So I probably will be doing that sometime in the near future. And then thirdly, next weekend, the weekend of the 13th, 14th, whatever next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is, because I am podcasting on the weekend of the 6th, 7th of August, something like that. I'm like completely, what time is it? Where are we? Anyway, we have the Twist Fiber Festival, which is about an hour and a half away from Ottawa. And it is a lovely, lovely fiber festival in, oh my gosh, what is the name of the place? I'll put it down here. I've completely blanked on it. I will be there on Saturday, helping with the Akara Yarns booth. So I'll be working with Rose on that day. You may recall, if you've been around for a while, that I was at her booth at Knit City Montreal in March or early April. And it's in Saint-André-d'Avelin. Just a little delay there. So it's sort of halfway between here and Montreal. I think it's probably about an hour from Montreal, and it's about an hour and 20 minutes from Ottawa. So I'll be at Rose's booth at Akara Yarns on Saturday only. I won't be there for the whole weekend, but so if you're going to Twist Fiber Festival on Saturday, please come by and say hello to me and Rose at the Akara booth. It'd be really lovely to see you. So those three things. Also, we will have the prize winners for the 5th year Podiversary of Little Big Knits, and I'll announce those after I finish talking to you about my finished object. So let's launch into that. And then I've got other little things I'll tell you. I've got a podcast corner today, so I'll talk to you about some podcasts that have been brought to my attention or that I'd like to mention as well. And works in progress and all the rest of the stuff that is usually there. So we've got an FO, we're wearing the FO, here is the FO. So there's more happening down here, which you'll see in a moment, and I might insert some footage if I get some, because you won't see the whole of the outfit. But I am wearing the Lapis, which I was knitting on last time. This is a pattern by Yamagara and Bernice, and if you happen to be watching Bernice, hello. And I really got into this. I knit this yarn out of Akara Yarns. You may recall last time that I was kind of struggling to find a project for this yarn. I had a couple of different projects in mind, and then when I started, it was like, no, this is just not working. So I finally found the project for this, and once I got going, I couldn't stop. So I finished this quite quickly, and I just really, really enjoyed working with this yarn and working on this pattern. I really enjoyed the pattern. So let me stand up and show it to you, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So I am wearing it with some black linen pants that I have here, and this is got this absolutely stunning chevron feature here where you stripe with the other yarn. In the original pattern, the ribbing at the bottom was done in, would have been done in that color. But I decided to do it in black because I really wanted it to just have this kind of more cohesive feel. I knew I wanted to wear it with these black pants and a black skirt, and I wanted it to just have a really slimming look. And this is a little bit of a thick part for me, so I thought that if I put blue at the bottom, it would be a little choppy and it might actually accentuate that. And I find that what it does is actually the opposite. It's just extremely flattering. There's something almost a little bit retro about this. I love it. I feel like there's something 40s and then something 80s about it. But I just really love it. I could knit myself another one, I have to say. So I'm going to tell you a few things. Let's start with the yarn. This is the Ella Ray lace, and it just happened to be a skein of the black that I had in my stash, and I thought this will go well with this. And weight-wise, they were a beautiful match. As I mentioned before, this is Akara Yarns. This is her Dark Like My Soul colorway, and this is her silk linen base. So I believe it was 65 silk, 35 linen, something like that, and a fingering weight yarn, and absolutely a delight to work with. Really, really enjoyed this a lot. So in terms of the yarns, really beautiful combination. It was funny because when I was actually knitting with these yarns, they were both bleeding a lot. And I was really nervous that the black was going to completely bleed into the blue and destroy the sweater. So I had been given a color catcher by Melissa of Alley Cat Yarns when she sent me some yarn at one point. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna use one of those color catchers. When I actually put the project into the water, there was no bleeding whatsoever, like whatsoever. And there was no color on the color catcher. There was no color in the water. So that was really interesting. So at this point, the colors were nicely fastened or fasted, or well, what would you say? They were color fast. And yeah, so anyway, colors were great. As I mentioned already, I really enjoyed the pattern. There was a very interesting technique, and my stitch count ended up being slightly off, so I had some trouble starting with the ribbing here, because you actually do a provisional cast on, and then you go back and you do the ribbing, and in order for the ribbing not to pucker, because you've got this chevron happening here, there is a sequence of short rows that are done. And so that was really neat, and the designer Bernice helped me a little bit with that. Thank you so much, because I was kind of like, okay, I don't understand where the short rows need to be happening, and then once I got that, it was easy peasy. Other modifications that I made here. I made the body a little bit longer. It is quite a crop top, but I knew that I wanted it to, come over the pants. So I think I added a couple of inches, maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches to the body. I also did the shoulder seams a little bit differently. However, the technique that Bernice suggests in the pattern is fabulous, and I really want to try it at one point. I believe it's called Dutch grafting, and it's done with a crochet hook, and it creates a beautiful braid on the top of the sweater. I decided to Kitchener the top of the sweater, mostly because I realized I was a little concerned about the length of this, and I was concerned that it was going to be a little bit snug at the top. It ended up being fine, and the crochet would have just cinched it in just a tiny bit, and I thought I needed to be, I need extra if anything. So I decided to do Kitchener along the top, and it worked out well, and it just creates a really smooth sweater. But the method that she suggests is really interesting, and I really want to try it at one point. I think it'll be a beautiful detail on another sweater. So yeah, so I just did that. And then the last thing that I did, sorry, I had to read my notes because I'm like, what does that say? My gauge was different from the pattern, so I ended up making a smaller size than I would have. That was another modification that I made. And then lastly, in the pattern, she has you do a couple of rows of pick up the stitches for the arms and the neckline, and do a couple of rows of garter and bind off. And when I did that, it was flaring, and I could not seem to get it to sit right. So I decided to do something different, and I basically did about 4 rows of stockinette and bound off, knowing that it would roll down and create a ribbing look anyway. And I did that on the sleeves as well. And I think that has worked out well. So here is my beautiful lapis sweater, and I really like it. And actually my neighbor saw me as I was getting ready to podcast. She goes, "You look smashing." I was like, "Thank you, it's my new sweater." She's like, "What are you all dressed up for?" I said, "Well, I'm about to podcast and I got to show my knits." So here we go. The Lapis by Yamagara. So last time we did the 5-year Podiversary draw, and I offered 3 prizes, and I had a couple of prompts for you. You could just tell me about a project or a memory from the podcast, or you could tell me something that's bringing you joy in your making. I think that was one of them, or just comment. Any comment would be an entry, essentially. And there were, oh my gosh, how many? 898 comments or something like that. And I read through every single one of them, and it was just wonderful. So first of all, so many of you enjoyed seeing Kate. I enjoyed having Kate here, and it was really fun to do a segment with Kate. So we'll see if we manage to do that at some point again in the future. But yeah, it certainly warmed my heart, and I'm sure it warmed her heart to have so many lovely comments about seeing her again. I know that so many of you that watch me watched her as well, whether you came to us from one direction or the other. Now, in terms of the comments, and the most memorable project of mine seemed to be, probably not very surprisingly, the ranunculus. A lot of people mentioned remembering the ranunculus, being inspired by the ranunculus, being finally joining the ranunculus party and realizing that was great. I think there was only one person who said, "I did the ranunculus and it just wasn't for me." But everybody else was super, super positive. Many people have made more than one. There was one comment, I can't remember exactly how many this person had made, but over 20. Wow. That's amazing. And it is that kind of pattern that you can just do so many different things with. I plan to make 2 more. One, a red one, which I'm going to talk to you about a little later, and I'd like to make a summer one. It hasn't happened yet. Summer's not over. I hadn't planned on making it, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm thinking perhaps I should make one more ranunculus for the summer. We'll see. Right now, I plan to do it, but I hadn't planned to do it this summer, but I'm starting to have thoughts about that. We'll see. So the ranunculus was definitely, I would say, the number 1 memory. The second most common memory was about my knitted skirt, which was a total surprise to me. I'm so glad that it has spoken to so many people, whether you decided to make it or you were just impressed by it. So that was really great. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, I published a pattern called the West Village Skirt. It's actually not a pattern so much as it is a recipe to help you make a skirt for yourself or for somebody else in any material. So it sort of walks you through the process so that you can create this skirt for the body that is intended for and not trying to fit the pattern to the body, right? So you're kind of doing your measurements. I don't even know if that made any sense. Why do I feel like today I might make less sense than usual? I don't know if that's... We'll see. I feel like I haven't podcasted in ages, although it hasn't been that long. But anyway, the pattern or the recipe is really about creating a skirt for your figure or the figure of the person that you're going to make it for, not for, some sort of preset figure. So that's how it works. So that was really great. I'm so happy that it's been an inspiration to many people. And then I would say that probably the other most common comment was about talking about sweater making and modifications that I make to sweaters, and that has been very helpful and instructional and perhaps motivational to help somebody get into sweater making. And so that was really great. I'm glad that my babblings have been inspiring in some way. So there you go. Those are the most common comments that appeared in the comments for that. So prize winners. For some reason, the YouTube random picker was not working. So I literally just scrolled and stopped and put my finger on a comment, because 800 and almost 900 comments was just too many for me to do a random number generator and then count. It was just going to take too long. So I thought, I'm going to do this in some other way. Just scroll and stick my finger on one. So I did that. And here we go. Here are the prize winners. I don't know why the YouTube random picker was just not accepting the URL for the video. It just kept telling me that it was the wrong one, and I went through the YouTube app as well as through Chrome, and I don't know, didn't like it. So I did it in my own little unusual random way, and here we go. The maker, the comment that is winning the knitting ring that I had shown you last time by Corina Lunita. I'll put a picture here, one of the beautiful pictures that I had shown you in the last podcast. The winner of that is Randy, R-A-N-D-I. So congratulations, Randy. Be in touch with me, and you will get that ring, and Corina will send it to you. So be in touch with me, and I will give Corinne the information so that she can send you a knitted ring for you to use. So congratulations on that. The winner of the skein of Camijo Knits yarn in this beautiful colorway called One Night in Bangkok, as well as these stitch stoppers that were so kindly donated from Fox and Pine Stitches, who is in PEI. These are going to Ducksoon Olivieri. So Ducksoon Olivieri, congratulations. please be in touch with me, and I will happily send these along to you wherever you may be. This is open to the entire world. So yeah, so be in touch. And then the last one, which was this pouch with all kinds of goodies inside it. This was won by Nikki of the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast. Congratulations, Nikki. I know Nikki. And I was like, oh, look at that. So here you go. I'll be in touch with you, Nikki, or perhaps you can be in touch with me, and I'll get the pouch with all the goodies in it to you. So congratulations to all of you. And I think more than anything, thank you so much for being here. Whether you've been here for one episode or 67, thank you so much for joining me on what is essentially the sharing of my knitting journey and other little tidbits. So there you go. So yes, thank you. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all the likes. And for being part of the community, because I think that we've made connections in different ways, whether it be on Instagram, in the comments below, on Ravelry. So it's been a real delight to be part of this. All right, on to the finished objects. Selma. On to the works in progress. All right, I'm going to show you the one that's almost finished. It's bound off. I just have to figure out what, if anything, to do with the edgings. But it is in this glorious bag by Claudia Maheu, who does bags. They're called Harrington bags. Claudia has not been making bags for the last few months, but hopefully she'll get back into it because I absolutely love her bags, and I have 2 of them. And in here is my Tulip Guernsey. Guernsey. Somebody said that it should be pronounced Guernsey. This, I bound off the ribbing last night and tried it on, and it's absolutely lovely. I absolutely love it. Really, all that is left is to figure out what to do, if anything, with the edgings, because I think she has a summer version on the Ravelry page. There's a beautiful blue version, and I think she did a tiny bit of ribbing in the arm, but I think she left the neck just with the cast on stitches. So I'm trying to figure out if that's what I want to do as well. I have thought about perhaps picking up and just doing an I-cord on here. The edging is quite lovely, so it could just stay as is. I thought about perhaps doing an I-cord on here or a little bit of ribbing. I haven't decided yet, and of course I have to sew in all the ends. So you'll see this next time. I would imagine I'll be wearing it next time for you. So this is the Tulip Guernsey by Midori Hirose, so the designer of the ranunculus. And I knit, basically it's a winter sweater. Let's see, it's a beautiful pattern, and I could actually see myself making a winter version of it as well. I have to say, the one thing about this pattern is that there are 30-something pages. So it's a huge task to print, and I would say that I kind of felt like I had to print it because there was a lot going on. Here is the winter version. I kind of wish that she had almost made a different version for each size, so that you didn't have to print 36 pages and you could have just printed, 4 or whatever for your grouping of sizes or something like that. I think that might have been a more efficient way, because it's a lot of paper to print. But it is extremely well explained, and yeah, extremely well explained, very well written pattern, great diagrams, very clear instructions, and really enjoyed making this pattern. So congratulations to Midori Hirose for another beautiful pattern. And as I said, I could see myself making a winter version of this in something, really woolly, with sleeves, because it's very, very pretty. And it just has a lovely, lovely techniques, and it's really nice. The yarn that I used for this is the Lang Lino. I don't actually know how much I've used. I don't know if I have any balls left. I've been a little disorganized. July was a really, really busy month with a lot going on. Mostly good, some not good. And so I don't know. Everything feels a little discombobulated in my life. But I had bought this yarn at Crochet et Compagnie in Montreal, in Verdun, when I was there with Kate on our little Montreal trip. And a lovely store. I want to go back. I actually thought that this would be a lovely summer ranunculus. Not this color per se, but this yarn. This is the Lang Lino. Not an easy yarn to find. It is a chainette linen, 100% linen. That's essentially a worsted weight, and a joy to knit with. I really enjoyed it. I said last time that I feel like when you have a chainette construction, whether it's cotton or linen, I feel like it makes it a softer yarn to work with. I don't know if people have the same experience who have tried it, but I don't think it's as tough on the hands as some people have issues with linen and cotton. I don't think it's as tough on the hands as when it's just applied linen. When it's applied linen, it is really hard. It's a bit straw-like, and I can see how that could be hard on the hands. I think that this is a different experience. I wouldn't say that it has any give. It's got a teeny weeny bit of give, but I think that just the nature of it makes it a bit softer. So really enjoyed it. This is color 784.0030, beachy color, which looks fun with my red nails. I don't usually get my nails done, but I decided this week that I wanted to have red nails. So that's it. I thought, and I made the appointment, and I just went and I said, I want this red, and that was it. So yeah, nothing else to really say about this at this point. I made it, I think, a ½ an inch longer, but otherwise I followed it. I think I made the armholes even about the same. They've ended up a little bit lower, but that's okay. And if I do an edging, that'll probably cinch it in a tiny bit, but it still looks great. The only real modification I did was that she actually has you do the front and the back as separate pieces and then sew them together. And I decided to pick up stitches. I did the back, I think she had you do the front first, and then I picked up stitches for the back. So in her pattern, she has a ridge along the top, kind of like here. Maybe I have a thing about ridges, I don't know. But I decided to pick up the stitches instead and continue on. So in her pattern, there are kind of like 2 purl ridges that go along the top, and mine ended up just being smoother. I actually think her detail looks really nice, just like I think the detail looks really nice here. I just didn't want to sew it up afterwards. So I decided I'm just picking up, and that's that. Out of laziness. Yeah, and it looks fine. I mean, it's at the top of the shoulders. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. So that's that for now. You'll probably see it on me next time. The next thing that I've been working on, just a teeny weeny little bit, but I have finished. I think I was halfway through the first sock, and the only thing I have done, and I forgot to bring a sock blocker, is finish the first sock in this pair of fairy tale socks. You may recall that I made a yellow pair, which I've been using in the bag as a guide. And I decided to do a second pair in this glorious colorway called Cayenne Pepper from the West Yorkshire Spinners. But there you can see the stitch pattern. And I just really enjoy this stitch pattern. But I made a funny mistake, which I only realized when I was measuring it against the yellow sock, that there are, in this stitch pattern, there is a row here where you're doing kind of a column, and I started out with the same number of rows, and then proceeded to do one less row. So the columns here are shorter. I started with the right number of columns in the first repeat and the second repeat, and then reduced it. So I just know that in my second sock, I have to do the same thing. So yeah, that was kind of a funny little feature, but I mean, it's barely noticeable really. But yeah, this is a pattern by Vicky Morose, who is D19 Eco-Friendly Life on Etsy, and on Ravelry, I believe she's Vicky Morose, and she's also got lots of beautiful wooden items. She is in Ukraine, and I'm not sure the status of her shop right now, but she makes beautiful things and has some lovely sock patterns. So yeah, so I'll be starting the second one. Really enjoy making that sock. Just a very lovely lace pattern. And just like the chevron lace on the bottom of this one, really enjoyable. I love simple lace. It's probably my favorite thing to do. And I am hosting this bag this project in this bag that I made years ago when I had a shop on Etsy. The shop is still there, but completely empty. It's called Little Creek Designs. Little Creek Designs, I called it that because my last name in Jesolu means Little Creek, little waters, so to speak. And so that's why I named my Etsy shop that way. And I was making project bags at the time. And they were fun, lovely to make, but really kind of time consuming, and I've got a busy life, so it wasn't the best thing for me. So that is work in progress number 2. Work in progress number 3, which is in this bag, which is from the Hawthorne Cottage Craft Etsy shop. She no longer is making bags either. We both gave up that idea, but she made these great bags that have a button and fold down like that, or you can have them like this, and there's a snap, and you could even like hang it somewhere so that it's like a bucket. And what is in here? In here is the Giselle Shawl by Cami Jo Knits. You may recall that I started this shawl last time, and I had most or a good part of the first part of this shawl done. It is essentially a large square, and the first part is really garter, going back and forth. And for this first part, which is a beautiful color, I am using, or was using because I finished, Arctic Crafts yarn in her singles base in her Moody Mauve colorway, which I've had in my stash for the last couple of years, and that was really enjoyable. Now, this has a little bit less yardage, and I wasn't really thinking, so I had to actually stop the shawl a little bit earlier. Normally I had to stop it sort of 10 stitches earlier, so one lace repeat earlier, in order to be able to complete the shawl, because this has 366 meters, which is not uncommon for singles. Singles sometimes have less yardage. They can be a little bit thicker. And I wasn't really thinking, but I think it'll work out. I only have this teeny weeny little nugget left from this. So this will go into some sort of project. I'm not even sure. It might be enough for my crochet blanket, which I have not worked on recently. Might be enough. I should try and make a little crochet square out of that. We'll see if that works. So I finished the first part of this 10 stitches sooner. And then the second part of this is using a mohair, which is in this, oh my gosh. Could that be a prettier pink? I don't know. This I ordered from Cami Jo, who is also the designer of the Giselle Shawl. And this is her Cami Jo knit yarns. And this is her silk mohair base, which is 72 mohair and 28 silk in her pink lilac colorway. And this is so supremely pretty. So supremely pretty. gosh, I'm having fantasies about a whole sweater. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. So I have started the second portion, which is a beautiful garter lace motif, very simple, really very intuitive, and I'm really enjoying this. It's been a lot of fun, and it's just really, really great. So I knit on this quite a bit. In fact, I started this and knit on this when I was glamping last weekend, which is different than camping. We actually had like very sort of rudimentary little shacks that actually have a gas stove and a fridge, and they're a wooden structure, although they've got tent-like material around them, like a very thick tent-like material, and but you have a fire pit outside and you have a picnic table outside. So I was glamping with some friends, and I knit on this while I was at the beach, and it was just really, really enjoyable. So my focus for the next month is really going to be to finish this. I would like to have this for the fall as a beautiful shawl for the fall. So yeah, loving it, really enjoying it. I think I'm going to enjoy the lace part. The garter is garter. It's really easy peasy. Wonderful when you need, some sort of a mindless knit, perfect for that. The lace I wouldn't call mindless, but as I said, I love simple lace, and so I'm really enjoying this, making the diamonds on it, and knitting with this glorious mohair, which I'm sure I'll have enough of, and probably I'll have a little bit of a leftover because there is more of this than there was of this. So maybe it'll go into some other project. Yeah, so there you go. Project number 3, and definitely the project that will be my focus. So I do hope that this will be finished by the time I podcast next. In terms of other knittings, if that's a possible thing to say, this week I was visiting my mother. If you've been around, you know that my mother lives in a nursing home. She has dementia, and I've been visiting her, trying to go like right after work and then taking her outside in the gardens, and we've been having a nice time just chatting and then walking around a little bit. They've got a beautiful, where she lives, they have a really nice garden in the back, and there's the occasional bunny that comes by, and there are flowers and birds. So I take her out there, and she loves to sit in the sun and have a cup of coffee. And so we sit there and chat, and I just started this sock. And she was really enjoying there was some real yarn, as they call yarn barf in the middle of the ball, and she was enjoying sort of looking at the colors and playing with that. My mother used to be an avid knitter, an amazing knitter. And actually one person in the comments had remembered that I had worn a cardigan a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago on the podcast, that my mother had made either before I was born or when I was a baby. And I still have that cardigan. And so I have a few of my mother's sweaters, and I should probably show them at some point. But anyway, so she always delights in seeing what I'm knitting. And I just started a very simple pair of socks with this opal yarn. I can't remember where I got this. I think I got this at Cricket Cove in Fredericton when I was visiting there last fall. And it's an opal yarn. And what is this colorway? Where do they put their colorways? It's 9641. But it's just got these fun greens and blues and creams in it. And I'm not sure who the socks will be for. They'll probably be a gift. I thought, you know what, no harm in starting Christmas knitting, but I kind of felt like I hadn't completely finished the fairy tale sock, and the lace is just a little bit, a bit too finicky and too big a project to be working when I'm outside with her. So I just thought, perhaps this is a project I'll just bring when I go to visit her. So I started that this week, which is in this linen bag that Kate had made for us at the Olin retreat. But in this bag, that is the Knitterati bag by Paradise Islands, I've got I've got a mishmash of things. I've got a skein of Quince & Company Sparrow because I thought I would wind it up and do some swatching with it. That didn't happen. I have a skein of Knitting for Olives Pure Silk. I have a thing for blues, I believe. And I've been swatching with that and really, really liking that. Actually, right now, I think I'm liking this more than the cotton merino or the merino cotton. I think it's cotton merino, which is a 50-50 by them. When I knit that, although I think I knit it on 2 big needles, I found it to be a little flimsy, to be honest, but I think it really needs to be on smaller needles. I think I was using 3.5 and it probably needs to be on 3 or 2.75. I've checked in with a couple of friends who are knitting with it and I think they're both using 2.75 and really liking it. So I think it needs to be knit on smaller needles to feel like it has a little bit of oomph to it. This yarn feels like a stronger yarn, and I think I'm knitting this on 3.25. I didn't actually check, and I'm really liking the fabric that it's creating. What is this going to become? I have no idea, and I'm not sure it's going to become anything quite yet. I had been thinking about the Naveen sweater because Nancy Wheeler, who's Wheeler's wife on Instagram, just finished the Naveen sweater, and I have that sweater. It was gifted to me. The pattern was gifted to me, but I'm not sure that I'm going to start it right yet. We'll see. Right now I have no clue what my next summer sweater is going to be, if there's going to be a summer sweater, or if I'm just going to finish the shawl, knit the second sock, and move into the fall knits. So we'll see. But I really enjoyed the swatch so far. I haven't even counted how many stitches it gave, but it's really, really nice. So that's one thing that happened in there. And then the other thing that happened in here is that with the leftovers from this yarn, which by the way, this sweater would qualify for the LBK Connections now because Rose had given me this yarn. I have leftovers of the 2 skeins from this pattern, and I thought, I don't want this sitting around. I want it becoming something right away. I was watching It Is a Sarah, which is a podcast that I've mentioned to you in the podcast corner before. She's a Dutch maker, and she recently started podcasting in English as well as in Dutch. And she had made a shawl scarf that she devised herself using I think it was a fingering weight yarn with a mohair. She used 6mm needles. She cast on 100 stitches. She would increase stitches every second row until she got to 200, I think, and then cast off. It just sat very nicely. It was very simple. It was 2 episodes ago, I believe, that she talked about it, and I thought, I think I want to make that. I like that idea. And I thought, if I don't have enough of this, I can use the rest of the black and make it a color block. So I've kind of been swatching with this with 2 different blues, and it was camping with me, and there are little bits from camping. Little bits of the campground that have come home with me. This is a Knitting for Olive dusty blue, I believe, and this is a Sandnesgarn Tun Mohair, is it? Both that I had in my stash. And I haven't actually started the project. I've simply swatched with the 2 blues to see which one I liked more to go with my coat in the winter. I have kind of a navy blue coat. So I'm like, do I like that or do I like that? I think I like that more. Yeah, so I'm hoping to start that after I finish the Giselle Shawl and just use up the rest of Rose's yarn and have a nice new scarf for the fall as well, another one. And that could end up being a gift for somebody, we'll see. So that's all that's in that bag, just some musings. So there you go. So I had been saving onion skins for quite a while, and we had a Ziploc bag full of onion skins. I wanted to dye with onion skins and give it a try. So I finally took the onion skins out and put them into some water and grabbed a skein of undyed sock yarn from Opal that I had upstairs in my yarn closet and brought it down. And I literally just threw some alum into the onion water. I don't think I even soaked my skein first. And the color was quite intense because it was a rather large bag of onion skins. And I put the skein of yarn in there, and I gotta be honest, I was a little bit silly because it ended up being a bit of a mess. But I got such an intense color of yarn. I'm gonna have to hand wind this because I think it's going to be a disaster unless I can get it back into its nice, neat state. But this is the color that I got from dyeing with the onion skins. And I actually read online that you can literally just use the onion skins, put them back in the freezer, and use them again at a later date to probably get a less intense color. But there was so much dye left in the water because it was as saturated as it could be, that I've kept that and hope to dye with it again. And I've started to collect some more onion skins so that we could do something in the future and maybe mix it with something else and see what happens. But this is definitely going to become a pair of stunning socks. So yeah, I just have to figure out, because yeah, it was kind of a bit of a mess. I don't know that this is a color that I would wear. Not sure it's quite my color to wear as a sweater, but definitely as it is on my feet for sure. So that was really neat. I did buy a little bit of yarn. I told you that I would like to make a Christmas ranunculus, and in fact I've been looking for reds, and I bought 1 or 2 reds online that when they arrived I was like, oh, not the right red. Red is not the easiest color for me to wear. Maybe that's a figment of my imagination, I don't know, but they weren't the right reds. So I happened to be on my way towards Wool Time. I wasn't actually going to Wool Time. I was doing other things in that area of the city, but then I thought I'm going to go into Wool Time and look at some yarn. And I happened to bump into a viewer there. So hello, Sue. And we were chatting, and we happened to be standing in the discount center. And as we were chatting, I looked down and there was some red, and I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I ended up buying these 2 skeins, which will be enough, of this lace weight drops lace. Now it's coming across as more cherry in the video, but it's a little bit deeper in real life. And I was just like, this is what I'm looking for. So this is drops lace, which is actually a discontinued yarn. And it is color 3620. There are 437 meters, so that's definitely enough for a ranunculus, which I will then, and all of this is being housed in this gorgeous madder root bag that Kate had given me, this linen bag. So I had bought a while back a really nice red in mohair by Biche Buche. This is their Le Petit Silk and Mohair, and in colorway dark red. And again, it's a little bit darker than it's coming online, coming on the screen, but I thought this is actually the red ranunculus. So I do hope that I'll have a red ranunculus for Christmas. We'll see. We are possibly going to go to Uruguay. We haven't been there for 4 years now to visit Alejandro's family. So I probably won't wear it because it'll be summertime there, but hopefully I'll have made it. So yeah, so that's the only thing I've purchased. These were in the sale bin, and I usually use about 750 yards for a ranunculus, and there are 400 40 yards almost in each one of these, so definitely enough for a long-sleeved ranunculus for me with the mohair. So that is a future plan, and my one real acquisition for this time. A couple of things. Just a couple of things. I finished a book. I have not been listening to books as much as I used to. It just doesn't seem to be happening. I don't know why. I'm not walking quite as much as I was before. I think that's partly it. I've been doing more sort of cardio workouts at home, and I've been doing a little bit more yoga, and some walking here and there. And when I do walk, I listen to a book. And I recently finished The Girl with the Louding Voice, which is a book by Abidare. She is a Nigerian writer, and I really enjoyed that book. I first of all really enjoyed listening to the book because it is read in a the main character speaks, I guess, what they call a pidgin English, a style of English, although the author said that she'd sort of fabricated it for that character. So it's not necessarily true to what a Nigerian pidgin would be, but it's so fun to listen to, and she just narrates it, the narrator narrates it so well, and I really enjoyed the story. It is very much about a girl who is a force to be reckoned with in a challenging situation that she lives in. You know, she is poor, she is given off for marriage, she sort of gets away from that, gets into another situation, and I really enjoyed it. There were times in the novel that I was a little worried about where it was going, and I wasn't sure I could handle it. I was worried that it was going to be like Khaled Khomeini's A Thousand Splendid Suns, which is about Afghani women, and it was so brutal. I thought, I can't handle another brutal story. But it never went there. It never got brutal. But it was just a great story about this girl who is very naive and yet a force to be reckoned with, and who meets some really kind people along the way. And it's just, I really enjoyed it a lot. And the other thing I wanted to mention is a new movie that is not playing in theaters. It's being streamed. I know in the States it's streamed on Hulu, and in Canada it was on Prime, Amazon Prime. I'm not sure where it is in the UK. It's a new movie with Emma Thompson called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Now, it is a movie about sex. So if that's not your thing, that's okay. But I really enjoyed this movie. It is about an older woman who hires a male sex worker because she wants to have some good sex, essentially. But it is comical in some ways. It's almost like a play. It's just these two characters in a room. The dialogue and the acting is amazing. I feel that it explores the notion of our relationship to sex on so many levels in a really interesting way. It was a delightful movie, a truly delightful movie. And my friend and I were watching it, and we're both like, this is so enjoyable. And it was just a really fun movie. And I really enjoyed that. So I just wanted to share those two good things that I've seen recently, or read, listened to, and watched. So before taking off today, I just wanted to mention a few podcasts that are recommendations. The first one is Woolen Forest. This is a podcast with Maria and Michael. Maria used to podcast on her own But she now generally is also there with Michael, her husband, who also knits. And I just really enjoy them. Maria is I would say very goth in her style and her aesthetic. And I really enjoy seeing what she does. I just really enjoy their aesthetic, and they have lovely conversations, and they have a nice vibe together. Maria also has a stitch marker shop, so she'll show things that she's made. But yeah, they live in, was it Tennessee? Somewhere in the southern states. So that's one podcast that I wanted to mention. Also wanted to mention Kia. I haven't mentioned her in Podcast Corner, but Kia Spod. Kia is in Sweden and is a big spinner. So if you're into spinning, she always has a spinning segment on her podcast. But she is a wonderful experimental knitter. She is a kind of fearless and will do things that just put things together in such interesting ways and rather fearless ways, I would say. I love the experimentation that Kia brings to knitting. So another recommendation. Also wanted to mention a new Canadian podcast called The Knitting Stew. And she is, I think she's based in Calgary, but she's a stewardess, so a flight attendant. And so she will podcast from different places and then show you those places as well. She's generally podcasting from, I think, Canada. I think so far all the locations she flies across Canada. And it's just really enjoyable. So that was another recommendation that I wanted to make. Also wanted to mention Anastasia of Free Your Sheep. Anastasia took a little break from podcasting, but is back to podcasting and is a lovely maker and also somebody I know, as well as Kia. They're both lovely people, and I really enjoy Anastasia's knits. She has a beautiful style, and she is in Iceland. So I have to say, in her last podcast, the footage just put it over the edge. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Iceland at some point. That's that. A friend of mine, actually two different friends, we've been talking about doing some walking tours, doing some hiking, walking in other countries. And so I mentioned to the one friend the other day, I'm like, you've always wanted to go to Iceland. Maybe we should do some walking in Iceland. So Anastasia, I might be coming to Iceland. We'll see. So those are the, oh no, there was one more. I also wanted to mention the 100 Acre Wool podcast, which is with Bella. And Bella has some lovely designs. One that was in the last, the last Lina magazine, actually, which I forgot to bring down. And she's also published another new one with Notre Dame, but she has some lovely designs and is really advancing in that. So wanted to mention her. She's a lovely maker out of California. Can't remember where she is in California, but she's in California. So there you go. Some podcasts for you to check out if you're in the mood. I've had a busy month, as I said, done some camping, family sounds now happening, done some camping, some glamping, some cottaging. So you have seen a little bit of footage and you'll see some footage from that. But I'm also going to leave you with footage from the last evening that Kate was here. We went on a lovely walk after dinner to Mud Lake, which is a conservation area within the city here. It's near a water purification plant, but it's also a conservation area, and it's full of animals. There are lots of birders who go there to watch birds, and there is at least one muskrat living there. There's turtle, there are different ducks. You have definitely seen footage from there in the past. So I will leave you with some footage from that walk with Kate on our last evening, as well as a few other images from the last month. The next month will also be a busy month. I'll be at Twist Fiber Festival, again, saying that, next weekend. After that, we will be at a cottage for a week. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law are coming from Uruguay this coming week, so we'll have guests for 3 weeks. And then I'll be taking my son to Montreal for his second year at university. So it's going to be a bit of a whirlwind of a month, but I do hope to find a moment to come and say hello during that time. If not, it'll be in September sometime. All right, my friends, take care. Thank you for joining me today. Congratulations to the winners, and thank you for being here with me. We'll see you next time.
All the stars have come in close just to see you, I suppose, and they're a-gleaming. You must be dreaming, and the sun has said goodbye with a twinkle in his eye. He's left the ocean with sweet emotion. We go dancing in the rain, riding on a midnight train, away so slowly. And the moon is looking down on the sleepy side of town, and he's so lonely. I love you only. I love you only. All the birds have taken flight. It's their favorite time of night, when they can hear you from somewhere near you. And the palm trees try to bend to be closer to their friends. They're made of magic. Reach out and grab it. We go dancing in the rain, riding on a midnight train,